planning authority outside of all corporate areas inside of Henderson. So unless they annex something, y'all will be the planning commission for those areas. I'm not as familiar, but basically familiar with Scotts Hill, Trucker's Crossroads. I looked at Sardis before the meeting. It looks like they did urban guardrails that follows the corridors of their city. I don't know if they have much. 100. Let's see. It's kind of a county growth plan, and it's kind of vague. I don't know how far off the road it is, but that's identified as a flood. I mean, not a flood. But as a main growth area, an area that could be incorporated or developed as a high-density residential, commercial, or an industrial area. That is something. Page 8, 658, 106. Again, it defines the various areas. Most of the time, I encourage the communities I work with, if they have water outside the city limits, most definitely to control growth and development on your water lines. If they could justify mine, they would have no development that might exceed what people would think put in budget plan. Because they need to control the amount of customers that they have on the line. Again, there were some areas, I think, around your lakes that were identified as clean road areas. I don't think we're really an outdoor situation, but more back for utility and density purposes. And on page 10, 658, 107, land use decisions must be consistent with the plan. Which has been a few cases litigated concerning those decisions. Quite honestly, without any land use controls, it's kind of difficult to, monitor or review land use decisions if you don't have anything to base on. It was tied to grants in 2001. If you didn't have the plan approved before a certain date, July 1st, 2012, you would be eligible for any grants. And the Tennessee Advisory Commission on Intergovernmental Relations continues to monitor various counties as they implement their growth plan. And one of my favorites, because I think it's unapproved, so it's still there. On page 13, all jurisdictions with special flood hazard areas are to participate in the National Flood Insurance Program. So every city, every county that has identified flood hazard areas on the flood insurance roadmap is to participate in the National Flood Insurance Program. The best I remember, Henderson County has participated in the National Flood Insurance Program since 1988. There's a lot of misconceptions about that. The federal government basically makes the program available. A lot of banks require the federal duty, FDIC, in order to get loans. Most homeowners and property owners that are located in special flood hazard areas have to purchase flood insurance. So if a county doesn't participate, they violate the state law, and they also keep their residents from getting a lot of loans. So it's a very practical federal law. Are there any questions? And before it's out, we also come in and see the working with We work with local crossroads. I'm currently assigned to Lexington and Henderson County. I don't have many meetings with Scottsville or Sardis in January later out there. So this should be about 20 years out too. So this was recorded in 2000, and this is again. But y'all can use and should use this as a platform for the housing study or any reviews or studies that y'all consider in the future. And one distinction also made, name of the title for planning regions and urban grounds boundaries are different, so they don't necessarily coincide. The planning region can't be bigger than the urban growth boundary for the city. But again, that urban growth boundaries now are basically being defined through strictly annexation by petition. So if somebody requests annexation, the city can pursue it. In the last couple of years, they've also allowed for non-contiguous annexations, which I think will be difficult to administer because the amounts are going to get bigger, and you're going to have to not just do taxes, but taxes, utilities, possible zoning, community zoning, and they can be miles outside the city with still floodings.
He's gonna hit the hot dogs.
Yeah.
Kind of jumped on continuing education.
Yes.
Is that all you're gonna have on that, or?
Yeah, I mean, I'm open to talking about all the other stuff, but I think there was some misunderstanding about posting the agenda and all that. So I didn't want to give anybody the impression that we were in secret or acting on something.
Well, basically, there's nothing being voted on tonight.
Right. Even the minutes would be delayed. But there is a public notice, and I believe it was published in the paper for the subdivision regulation unit that y'all should consider to make the county road standards the same in the subdivision regulations as in the county. So
That's correct.
that will be a meeting with the public hearing. It's already been in the paper, and again, y'all will be the public hearing, close it, and then vote in the meeting about the amendment.
Well, on that note, Mark, the school system manages a website, and their agendas are not posted on their site either. So I'm gonna get with the school superintendent and see what can be fixed on that.
Thank you much, man.
Yep. I think the law says if the county doesn't manage it per se, they do, so they need to be in compliance too. So if there's going to be a place they're going to manage the websites, they need to do so.
And I believe the MTS said it implied that it was a website managed by the county or the legislative body. Again, MTS works with cities, so, you know. It's their opinion was you didn't have to start one just to comply with the law, but if you did have
If you manage,
yes, sir.
which we do not.
That's my understanding. I'm not against y'all having one, but like I said,
Well, there's nothing really pressing. You said we're gonna get, how much credit we gonna get for continuing education on this?
again,
You said we did, or 2 more hours before the end of the year?
yeah, well, y'all got an hour tonight. Was it not sure that y'all don't think it's on the read?
Absolutely.
Every more. I I'll defer to you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, seeing that the last meeting was informal and, we just, went over continuing education. I guess, should I ask the first name?
We did have about 4 fellow commissioners on tonight. If y'all got any questions, ask Chris about the housing.
And if I can't answer them, I'll research it. So,
Would you introduce them or them introduce
So
them?
I do have one question.
Yes, sir.
If someone has a subdivision in place and had covenants that's 15, 20 years old, is any of this going to change any of the covenants that's currently in?
Covenants are a private matter, and normally that is referred to a homeowners association. Typically, when I've dealt with homeowners associations, it's been for like shared or private streets with the intent that somebody's maintaining the street so it don't fall all to pieces and then the county ended up.
But if it's subdivision, if it's regular,
That's private.
and in place years ago,
That's private.
it's going to change.
Right, and the restrictions are, again, I'm just talking about where there's some overlap, but typically the homeowners association should have
But
the
there's no
big
homeowners
restrictions.
association in this subdivision.
Well, then, and again, I gotta be careful not to be accused of being a lawyer, but who would have standing, you would think the residents or property owners would have standing to sue and that, but again, they should consult their attorney about who has the,
So is it like a subdivision that's got restrictions and people are going against the restrictions?
No, I'll give you that, and I'll show you.
well, like I say, that's a legal matter.
Yeah, I mean, I know where I live, there's been some, situations where people built outbuildings and things, and there was something wrote up in the subdivision when it was built, but that's a civil matter. And then the bad thing about it is, either one person's gotta pay for the lawsuit, or everybody in the subdivision's gotta go together to do it. Or an HOA, if there is.
And like I say, if y'all subdivision regulations, common areas, I've had a couple situations where subdivisions have developed around the lake, and I don't detail the restrictions, but I do advise that they come up with something about who has access, who has maintenance, and that kind of stuff. But that is not as much regulatory as just making sure it's developed appropriately. And your name?
Terry Allen.
If we've ever met, I apologize.
I've been here. Okay. The issue is that this property was subdivided years ago and had different lots. Someone has 2 lots. If someone has 2 lots, they're going to build a house on it, and it being in the middle of the property lines of 2 lots.
And the city,
It's not in the city.
no, well, I'm gonna use this as a teaching tool. That's what I do with the questions from them. Typically, in order to meet zoning, you have to be set off the property line. And just to keep people from ever splitting that up and having 2 people on one house, typically I would recommend that they re-subdivide, combine the lots, and then have that recorded as an amended plan. But again, that's just to let y'all know if somebody tries to build on the property line. Even without zoning, just for the orderly development of the community. Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. Anybody else?
Mr. Mayor, I'm Tony Seagull, I serve the Tony District too. I would ask that if we do bring this building inspections back up, is there a possibility that you and the chairman can also come to our meetings and us kind of have a huge town hall where everybody can kind of do a Q&A about everything before it goes to a vote? If it does come back up for a vote, I'm not saying it will, but if it should, as far as to maybe ease the minds of some of our citizens in the district.
Well, if I could, normally I would just be able to separate the zoning and the subdivision stuff from the building stuff. And as a general rule and a planner, I work with building inspectors, and I appreciate, I come from a county without building code, and I've seen some, or heard some horror stories back home, because they don't have building code. So I endorse it in the most general sense for just health, safety, and fire. So I really can't speak definitively or whatever about how to enforce building code. But again, more than half of the people I deal with in cities and counties are building inspectors. So I'll normally call them, to be honest.
I think you're going down the right road, and we have gotten notified that the state inspector that would be covered this area would be willing to come.
That'd be great. I just want to make sure that
Answer the question.
we do another vote.
And if
Let's do the best we can as far
If
as.
I don't have a conflict, I'd like to be there I like to learn stuff, and also like to get to know the people that might be involved in some fashion, even if it's not directly with the planning or any other controls that would come up in the future. The floodplain management comes up occasionally as well.
I just think the more information we have, we can give the public, the better off we are as a community.
Yeah,
You know, just ease some of the tensions. I know a lot of people that I've spoken to over the last few months on the phone, once I kind of explained why I voted the way I did, they understood. But a lot of it's just maybe the fact that they weren't knowledgeable about some of the facts pertaining to the issue. So I just want to make sure if it comes back up again that we do.
if I didn't have this job and coming from where I came from,
Yes, sir.
I thought everything was like Germantown. And I've actually asked building inspectors, I said, so you would want a house built to building code? They say, no, that's the minimum standard. I would want a house built better than building code. But without anybody watching, quite honestly, I hear the horror stories when I'm working with communities with zoning and subdivision regulations and other things. And, you know, and also if it helps your insurance and a few other things. And again, just consumer safety. It also keeps the inspector or the contractors, quite honestly, that get run out of other communities from coming to communities that are more wider. And again, I think I told you all, I live on the border, I grew up in the border. And we had people, when they couldn't work in, you know, the state to the north and to the east, and west, they would come to my community houses. And then the building inspectors I knew the county seat would say, some, you know, they would come in and tell me about the elderly people and just people that didn't know about building that were getting fleeced or having to make wholesale. You know, we could basically reconstruct a house they just made for. And I also don't know that many people. My first house, I didn't have built, so it was already built. So I wonder how many people actually have ever even, if they were in a community with building code, would have even had to get a building permit in the first place. So that's another thing. If you built an existing house or inherited your family's house, you might never need a building permit, even in the most strict community.
Anybody else? Well, before we adjourn, I think it's, would be proper if we had a moment of silence for September 11th and for the recent assassination of Charlie Kirk. Everybody would just rather have that moment of silence. All right, if no business to be presented before the commission, I say we adjourn.
October the 2nd.
that's already been published in the paper, so we really need to hold to that, just so y'all can know where you want to.
Is that,
That's the Thursday, I think it's.
but that's the one that we're gonna vote on in a minute.
Yes, and if I'm counting correctly, and I'll get with your secretary about the minutes, you would make one more hour continuing ed, and then again, if something didn't come up for November or December, y'all will have more flexibility for the rest of the year.
Does anybody have any questions about the amendment for next month? Does everybody know what it is?
So, about the same road.
Well, so when we adopted the subdivision regulations, it had road standards in it, and the road standards exceeded what the county had adopted previously. So we had somebody come in and present the subdivision, and they made a good point, and we agreed with them, and we just got the subdivision regulations approved. And we knew, the reason we were trying to get it approved was try to prevent tent cities and things like that. And we knew we might need to make some changes. And so we're changing the road's width to the same thing that Steve Vineyard, abides by and requires. So that's all it is, it's nothing.
But it does hold to the private and public standards again, so the good road is a good road.
Right. We didn't feel like a developer should have to build something bigger than what we're gonna build ourselves if we build one. That's why we're doing it. And we're trying to do what's right, and we're trying to, have controlled growth and hopefully live a good place to live. We don't want tent cities and it's hard on our school systems, it's hard on our everything, so. Anyway,
And state law changes enough to where, again, there's amendments made all the time. That's basically why planners not just reviewing stuff, but keep them informed and up to date with the rules, with the state acts, to keep you on the lines.
we heard.